When you first start learning Biblical Hebrew, the vowels can seem very confusing. We're going to cover 17 different combinations of dots and dashes, and it can all seem quite overwhelming. Just pause and think, however, that even though in English we only have the 5 vowel letters a, e, I, o, u, when you think about the different ways, the different number of ways that they can be pronounced in isolation, and even more so when you start combining them in pairs, or when you have a word with an E on the end versus a word without an E on the end, then you realize that actually sticking with 17 is not so bad after all. The advantage in Hebrew is that once you know these 17, you can pronounce every single Hebrew word all the time with no exceptions. This is not like English, where one word can be pronounced one way and another word be pronounced totally different, even though they share many similar letters. In Hebrew, you know where you are. There is a one-to-one correspondence between the sign and the sound. On that note, and just before we dive in, you will often see, particularly in modern teaching videos, there will be some who want to insist that lots of vowels are pronounced the same. So there will be 2 different signs, both pronounced a, and 2 at least different signs, both pronounced e. That's because those teaching videos are following a modern Israeli pronunciation. In my videos, I prefer to do a bit of a via media between the modern pronunciation and something a little bit closer to the pronunciation as it would have been in the days of the Tiberian Masoretes. The reason being that if you follow my pronunciation, then if you can hear a word, you can write it accurately. There is no ambiguity. If you can hear the word, you can write it. And so I find that even though it means a little bit more learning up front, actually is a real time saver and advantage in the long run. So without further ado, our first vowel, written underneath the consonant. Here I'm just using aleph as a stand-in consonant. We're interested in the vowel, which is the line underneath, which is patah. Most of the Hebrew vowel names give you a clue to the pronunciation. So patah is pronounced a. Patah, a. Several of the vowels we'll see have the same sign, but then with 2 dots added to the right of the sign. This is called a chatef patah, and it is just a short version of the regular patah. So if patah is a, then chatef patah is a. A. Again, sometimes you will see a vowel in combination with another consonant, usually a yod, sometimes a vav. In this case, the patah yod combination is pronounced I. I. This T-shaped vowel is qametz and is pronounced ah. Qametz, ah. I will add in at this point that occasionally and under very strict conditions, this vowel can also be pronounced o. Now I realize that sounds confusing. 9 times out of 10, it will be a regular R. So if you're uncertain, just go for R, and 9 times out of 10, you'll be correct. There are quite strict contexts in which it is pronounced O. Here we have the chatef qametz, and this, whenever you see this sign, is always a shorter version, but it's a shorter version just of the O sound. So chatef qametz is always O. If a word ends with a qametz, then very often the scribe will write a hey after the qametz. The hey is unpronounced. It simply means, don't forget that there's a qametz before me. It's called a mater lectionis, a mother of reading, and it's a guide to help the reader. So qametz hey is pronounced exactly the same as qametz, ah. And the hey will only occur at the end of a word to indicate, as I say, that there is a qametz before it. Ah. Moving on now to the sounds. First of all, we have tsere, a, tsere, a. Tsere, when combined with a yod, tsere yod, is also pronounced a, one of the very few occasions where there's no distinction in pronunciation. Tsere yod, a. 3 dots in this triangle, segol, segol, segol with a yod, segol yod, air, air. Once again, the segol with those 2 dots to the right-hand side of it, making a chatef segol, a shorter version of segol. So if segol is chatef segol is e. 1 dot underneath the consonant chirik, chirik, I. Chirik with a yod. By now you should be able to guess that it is called chirik yod, and it says e. 3 dots arranged on a diagonal, kibbutz, and it's an vowel, kibbutz, Our first vowel, that can be represented with a vav. Vav with a dot in the middle is shurek, and it's oo. Imagine somebody catching a football right in their midriff and going ooh. One of the very few vowel signs that is written above the letter. Cholem, o. This can be combined with the vav, with no change in pronunciation. Cholem vav, still pronounced o. This time imagine somebody stretching up to catch a football that goes straight over their head, and as they reach high, they go, oh! And that's the end of them. If you learn those signs and their respective sounds, you can write any Hebrew word just by hearing it with virtually no ambiguity.